Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is manifestation time, and we are here to address any questions that you may have. I want to welcome you as you are joining us in our room, if you will, our virtual room. This is the place where you can have your manifestation questions answered. And I am delighted to be here to serve you. We've had a number of questions that have come in advance. And so, what we will be doing is we're going to cover off the questions that have come in advance first, and then anyone that's on here live with us while we're doing this open Q&A call for manifestation techniques, anyone that's here, then what we're going to do is address your questions as well. So if you're on Instagram, type it in and we'll grab it and we'll make sure that we capture your question, we bring it over and address it. If you're on Facebook, and hello, I see lots of familiar faces that are joining us right now. If you're on Facebook, you can type it in the little chat box and I'll address those questions. But what I want you to know is we've had some questions that have been submitted in advance. And the interesting thing is you're going to find that even though you may not have a question, you may have gone to a seminar and not had a question, but the question gets asked in the room. And it's a question that you really, really would love to hear the answer to. And so you may not have a question, but I'm going to guarantee you this. You're going to get value out of the answers to the questions that are being asked while we're here today. So I'm delighted to be back to serve you. We do this every Wednesday if we can, depending on what's on the agenda. And so good to see you. Much love to you as well. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you for being here. I really do. It really means a lot that you're here. I love serving people who are passionate about their goals and who have a desire to change their life in whatever way that is. Now, I've changed my life in every way. So maybe you're a little bit like me and you want to change your life in every way as well. And if so, I can definitely help you with that. And I'm not here alone. I also have my team members here. We have Roddy Telfer, who is always on our calls, and he's here grabbing questions for you. And we also have Vladi Kanuva, who is here. Hey, Mark, good to see you. I just happened to put my glasses on and I saw your name there. Great to see you here too. All right, super. So our first question, and hello, Beate. Hello, Louise. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Mary. Hi, Lorette, Nicoletta. We're seeing some Keith, Sean. We're seeing some familiar names that are joining us here. Okay, our first question that has been submitted in advance is a question from Olga. And the question is this: when visualizing the things I want to accomplish just before sleep. Now, I'm just going to stop here for a moment. I also remember earlier I was saying that even though you may not have a question, you're going to benefit from the answers to the questions. You know, when I saw Olga's question in advance, I was thinking, so many people have this issue. All right. I've had this issue. So I love that she is asking this question. So question is this: when visualizing the things I want to accomplish just before sleep, sometimes the mind intervenes. Let me just stop again right here. I just want to stop in the middle of this question. What Olga is saying is the mind intervenes. It's your mind. It's not something that's outside of you. So if your mind intervenes, it's because you're allowing it to intervene. That's not a criticism. It's just awareness. Awareness is so valuable when you have it. Then she says, it brings me back to the painful reality. Any advice as to how I can avoid something like that or get back to the visualization mood again quickly? Yes. Two things. One, stop doing it. So the moment you notice it, you know, obviously you're looking for a solution. So that's great. There's a little video clip that's on YouTube and you can look it up if you want. Go to YouTube and type in Bob Newhart, Stop It. And it's a little skit. And it's a skit where Bob Newhart is pretending to be a psychiatrist. And this woman comes to him and she has a challenge. And her challenge is that she's afraid, and she's making all this up in her own mind, that she's going to get buried in a box alive and put in the ground. And so she goes to him for advice. And he says, stop it. And she's like, that's it? That's the advice? You know, 2 words, stop it? And he said, yes, stop it. And what happens is when people hear advice, especially if it sounds so incredibly simple, like 2 words, stop it, they don't realize that that is profound. And that's the truth. But let's take this a little further because Olga is saying, what do I do about it, right? How do I stop it? Here's what you do. You want to put directly beside your bed this question. And here's the question that you're going to put beside your bed. Now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? Now you want to get into the habit of not only asking yourself that question, but answering that question. But more important, listen up, okay? Lean in as I say this. More important is not asking and answering the question. What's most important is you feel the answer. You want to feel it. So if your goal or your dream is to earn a certain amount of money, and you crawl into bed and you start thinking about debt load, or you start thinking about not having enough, and you start thinking about I'm not getting any result, whatever. I mean, if you get into bed and you start giving all that attention, shut that down as fast as possible because you do not want to give that any more energy. And ask yourself, now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And when you're asking yourself that question and you're connecting to the answer, very likely you're going to end up with one of these, a smile. You're going to be smiling. Now you may be in bed with your eyes closed and, about to drift off into sleep, but you're going to feel good. Why? Because you're connecting to the outcome that you desire. Now, if you find that you hop into bed and you go into that place of now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And you're going down that roadway or that lane of feeling what it feels like now that your dream is fulfilled, but then you go off track. It's like the needle goes across the record. That's an old expression. And you go off track and you start thinking about debt load or not having enough or whatever else, then just put yourself right back on track again. Now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? Now, if you have to do that 18 times, do it. Do it until you condition yourself that it's a habit. It's a habit that you're implementing effectively, okay? So there you go, Olga. All right, great question. Next question is from Keith. And I love this question. I saw this question coming in advance. By the way, I love all the questions, but this one was awesome. So thank you, Keith, for asking, and thank you for always being here. Keith Graydon is asking this question. What do you admire in your greatest students? What examples do your success stories exemplify your pinnacle of achievement with mentoring? What can we learn from your greatest students and success stories? By the way, I'm achieving all the success I truly want. My life gets better and better, and I'm feeling incredible. Thank you. All right, Keith, good for you. And it's all about the feeling, so that's great. And it's absolutely possible for everyone to have your life get better and better and better. So that is great. So what do I admire in the people that I've been blessed to serve that have accomplished great things? I would say what I admire in them is that they take it very seriously, but not in an unhappy way. It's not like they're taking it seriously and they're like, like a grumpy person or, don't care about what's going on in the world. I love heart-centered people, and I would say it's heart-centered people that are successful. I admire that in my clients. I love authenticity, and part of the reason why I love authenticity is because I'm authentic and I love other authentic people. I love, and I would say that the things that I admire with people that have succeeded is that they never, ever, 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 ever give up. They are truly dogs with a bone. They're holding on tight to their dream, and even though they may feel like dropping it or someone may try and take it away from them, they don't let that happen. They stay in the energy of their outcomes regardless of what's going on, or as Neville Goddard teaches, denying the evidence of the senses. So essentially, what I admire doers, people that absolutely implement what I'm teaching. That is a big admiration. I really believe, and I know we're going to end up talking about Bob Proctor here because he, left this earthly plane 6 days ago, less than 6 days ago now. And I started studying with Bob 43 years ago. Yes, he was a friend. Yes, he was a mentor of mine. But I really believe one of the reasons why Bob would have me speak at all his events is because of the things that we're talking about here, or Keith had asked about, that I am a serious student, that I love helping people, and I do help people, and I'm a doer. Like, I'm implementing this every single day. I don't just spew the words out of my mouth, for the sake of saying it. There's a quote that Bob used to say, and it goes like this: by their fruits you will know them. I want you to think about that quote for a moment. By their fruits you will know them. Now, I don't want you to think of that quote and be judgmental about it. I don't want you to think about that quote, by their fruits and you'll know them, and be upset at yourself. By their fruits you will know them means that if you look at someone's results, it'll tell you a lot about who they are, or who they were in the past. Now, if you're someone who's been actively implementing success strategies in your life, then your results may be on their way. Of course, you're living as if they're here right now. And Bob Proctor, what he loved about other people and who were his great friends and his close connections were people that were out there making it happen. Not just the people that are talking about it or the people that are showing up at the seminars, people that are making it happen. They're implementing. It's not enough to just think about this stuff or study this stuff. I was reading from The Power of Awareness this morning, which is a book that I absolutely recommend, The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. And he said in this chapter is called Be Ye Doers. Be ye doers. And he said this, and this is valuable for everyone that's listening here right now. He said, you deceive yourself by hearing only when you expect your desire to be fulfilled through mere wishful thinking. You're deceiving yourself. Mere wishful thinking is not enough. There's a quote by Napoleon Hill that said that if you think that wishing for something is going to cause it to come into your life, think again, because that's not the way it works. But here's what he said. This is just one little paragraph. I want you to understand this because this paragraph could change your life. All right? Here's what he says. You must be doers of the law of assumption. You must be doers of the law of assumption, for without application, the most profound understanding will not produce any desired results. Wow. Life changing. Now think about what he said here. There is a lot in that one little paragraph. You must be doers of the law of assumption. What does he mean by that? You've got to assume that what you desire is already here. Now that's a lot easier said than done. Why? Because your paradigms, right? You're already programmed a certain way. And the only way you're going to change your life is by changing what's going on inside of you. If you want your life to change, you must change, as written in Savvy Wisdom 1. Savvy Wisdom 2 is done, by the way. It's being edited right now. And that was the message that Savvy, who's the main character in this book. By the way, if you don't have this book, get this book today. All right? Savvy is Bob Proctor. That's who I base this on. The main character in the book, this is like a fiction book, but it's written as a parable. The main character in the book is Sophie. So in the beginning of the book, Sophie, which is me, meets this gentleman named Savvy, who is Bob Proctor in real life. And he says to her, if you want your life to change, you must change. So Neville Goddard is saying that you must be doers of the law of assumption. You got to be practicing this every single day. How do you practice it? By daily disciplines. You've got to create your own list of the things that you're doing every day, like Power Life Script, which is the most powerful technique I've ever used to change my life. Everyone should have a Power Life Script, and if you don't, go to powerlifescript.com. 4, without application, you got to apply it. It's not enough to watch, to listen, to read, to go to seminars, to look at YouTube videos. It's not enough. It's not anywhere near enough. You've got to apply it. The most profound understanding will not produce any desired results. So how do you get there? How did I get to where I am? I went to Bob Proctor's seminar in January 1979. And when I finished that night, I signed up for more seminars. There was something that he invited us to attend. So the event that I met Bob at was a free event. The company that I worked for had hired Bob. And then at the end of the evening, we were invited to invest in ourselves and go to an 8-week series of seminars. I signed up. When that ended, I signed up again and again and again. And as they say, the rest is history. I study to this day. You want to be a very serious student of the materials. And that's what I love, Keith. And you're one of them. I mean, look at you. Look at what you're creating in your life. You've got such a beautiful presence, a beautiful spirit, and I really love that about you. Okay, the next question is from Susan. Firstly, I send love and tenderness to you. You are blessed to call Bob your bestie, and now you have the privilege of your wisdom today. I look forward to your wisdom today, maybe on having patience. Okay, great question, Susan. I never called Bob my bestie, by the way. I'm not sure where that came from. Bob was definitely a good friend of mine. I loved him, still do, and we were good friends. He had told me, I did the last interview with Bob that he ever did, and it was on the 30th of December. And he had said to me before I hit record on the call, because him and I were having a chat, he had said to me that there's very few people that he communicated with on a regular basis. He was very particular about who he hung out with. And he told me that as he got older, he became even more particular. He was hanging out a lot with his lovely wife, Linda, who is a beautiful person, a beautiful soul, and a number of other people that he very, very, very big friends with. And I was blessed, very, very blessed to have Bob in my life, for so many reasons. But patience, patience, there's a quote that I heard many years ago that goes like this: infinite patience produces immediate results. I want you to think about that for a moment. Infinite patience produces immediate results. There's also another quote that goes like this: you wait as the one who understands. I think that was the philosopher William James that said that. It doesn't matter who said the quotes originally, but those two quotes say a lot about patience. What does that mean? It means this: when you desire to manifest something in your life, you must, and I say must very lovingly, you must feel as if it's in your life now. Not sometime next week, not that it's coming or I'll get there, maybe one day. That crap, and I'm going to call it crap, doesn't work. Doesn't work. Does not work. The way you manifest is by feeling that what you desire is here today. Today. Now think about this. Really think about this. This is really, really profound. Knowing that your desire is already here, that you're earning the kind of money that you'd love to be earning, that you're living in your dream home, that you're driving that car, that you're in the relationship that you want, that you're at the ideal weight, that you're in perfect health, whatever that is. What does it feel like? Right? You've heard me ask that question before. We've done that many times when we've done our live events. What does that feel like? And you can tell me what that feels like. You can type it in the chat boxes and tell me what that feels like. But here's what you need to know and understand. When you're in the spirit of, in other words, embracing and feeling the knowing that it's already done, you're already there. You're in what's called perfect alignment. You're in the vibratory state to attract that like a magnet. When you're feeling as if it's here now, you are attracting it into your life by your very nature. And what you're using is, and you're working in harmony with, the laws of the universe, specifically the law of vibration. Because as you vibrate, you attract. If you're feeling good, what are you going to attract? Good. If you're feeling prosperous, what are you going to attract? Prosperity. If you're feeling, when you're feeling successful, what are you attracting? Success. Right? You got to get up every day being that person that you desire to be every single day. Last night I was studying from James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. And here's what he said. Here's another quote of what he said. He said this. He said, men, by the way, he's not only talking about men, he's talking about women too, or they, people, do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. All right? This is why your identity, the identity that you have created for yourself, is so important. You want to be the person who is already experiencing the success. And you have to be that person today, right now, in this very moment. And if you haven't done the work to define who is that person, what are they like, how do they think, how do they feel, what are they doing, invest the time to do it. All right? Invest the time to do it. Because when you change your identity, when you change how you look at yourself, everything can change. There's also a quote in here that says, most people want to change their environment. They want to change their circumstances. but they're unwilling to improve themselves. Therefore, they remain bound. That's a quote from this book. I don't know what page it's on. I was reading last night. I know it's in there. I've heard Bob Proctor say that quote a gazillion times. But they have the desire. People have the desire. They want to improve their lives, but they don't improve themselves. This is where it starts. This is where the change starts. It starts right in here. I'm not talking about within Peggy. You have to make the change within you. So when Keith had asked me that question of, what do I admire about other people, is that they understand that too. It's up to them. There's another quote that I love. It goes like this: if it is to be, it is up to me. If it is to be, it is up to me. Think about that for a moment. If it is to be, it is up to me. Now, it's not up to me for your success. Bob used to say that as well. He'd be on stage and he would say, I can't take credit, because there'd be a lot of people who would be talking about the wonderful difference that Bob made in their lives. And he'd say, you did it. I may have given you some advice or guided you or shared some of the wisdom or the materials that I studied, but you're the one that did it. And he says, you got to take the credit for that, because if I take the credit for your success, I'd also have to take the credit for your failures. And he's not about to do that, because it's not up to him. It wasn't up to Bob whether you were successful. It wasn't up to Bob whether Peggy was successful. It was up to Peggy whether Peggy was successful. And I believe the reason why Bob and I were friends, and why that connection was so strong, and why we stayed together for so many years, is because I implemented what he taught me. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's the difference makers. That's those that invest in themselves continually. They stretch themselves, because when you accomplish your goals, you're going to become and bring out a greater and grander version of who's already there. You see, this version was already here inside me many, many years ago. But many, many years ago, I couldn't even look in a mirror. And I was living in poverty, all consumed in debt, going from relationship to relationship to relationship. My life was a miserable hell. But the same person, I'm the same person. Now I think about today, where I'm 63 years young, and that if they had a high school reunion for my high school, I'm quite certain many people wouldn't recognize this version, because that's not the version that I was showing up before, but it's in there. It's in you. It's in you. Greatness is in you. It's within everyone, absolutely everyone. The next question that we have is from Diana. She says, I want to know how you are. Fabulous. I'm fabulous. Now, I have had, since Bob passed away last Thursday night, my phone has lit up. I was talking to Brian Proctor this morning, and he's been experiencing much the same. He said he had to shut his phone off. So many calls and so many texts and so many messages and so many emails. And it's lovely. I mean, it's a really lovely expression of love for his father, etc. And so Bob felt that when a physical body leaves this earthly plane, and they are known as deceased, that they die, that it just means they've transitioned. Now, what he would say is they've transitioned to the next part of their eternal journey. And that even though someone may not be here in present physical form right now, they're simply a thought away. And I've had lots of conversations with Bob in the last 6 days. I feel his presence. His presence will always be with me. On my phone, there's a text there just from a couple of weeks ago. And I was telling Bob that Savvy Wisdom 2 is finished. And he responded and said, it is you in print. Because it came through me, even though it's based on Savvy as Bob, because I've studied him so much, it's my version of what Savvy or Bob has said. But Bob doesn't want us to feel sad. Yeah, we'll miss him for sure. Bob wants us to go on. He wants us to do our work. While Bob was declining, he had a conversation with the lovely Mary Morrissey, who I love and appreciate. She's an amazing, amazing woman. And when Mary was chatting with Bob, and they were talking about Bob choosing, like Bob knew he was going to be moving on to the next transition of his life, and he chose how that would be. He said he wanted to be home, wanted to be with his family, surrounded by family, and all of that. And Mary was about to do an event, a big event. And she said, normally, Bob, you'd be giving me a pep talk before I went on stage. And he said, Mary, go and do your work. And that's what he loves. He loves these materials. It changed his life. He had been involved in the study for 60 years. I've been involved in the study for 43. It's changed my life. He was madly in love with the work and madly in love with helping people. I feel only blessed. I feel blessings. I feel gratitude. I feel so joyful when I think of Bob Proctor. So I'm choosing to have a response to his transition in a way that I feel would honor him, that he would love and he would appreciate. Is it the norm? Is it the way most people would be? Probably not. Probably not. But Bob was far from norm. Certainly he was an extraordinary man. And so I'm doing great. And I feel very blessed to have known him, to have that close relationship with him, blessed to have him change my life in the way that he did, and blessed to carry on and do the work that I'm doing in the world. Okay, the next question is from Michelle. In the spirit of Bob's passing, it made me think about his legacy and what kind of legacy I want to leave behind. Wondering if you considered this and what legacy you want to leave. Definitely, Michelle. It's what I live for is my legacy. I have 20 books now that are my legacy as well. The work that I'm doing online is my legacy. So back in the 1920s, the 1990s, I wasn't around in the 1920s. Back in the 1990s, I had decided that I would make a positive and beneficial contribution to the lives of millions. I've recently changed it. And I changed it because I had an event occur in the last year where I was diagnosed with cancer. Of course, I'm cancer-free now, but I'd gone through this incredible health challenge, if you will. And Bob would say there's two known ways to change a paradigm. One is through emotional impact. The second way is through space-time repetition. And I use the space-time repetition every day, and I have since 1979. But emotional impact, one for me, was last year, the diagnosis of cancer and then going through treatment and then coming out the other end. It was a big emotional impact. So now the purpose of my life and my vision or mission, whatever you want to call it, in life is to make a positive contribution to the lives of hundreds of millions. So I've raised the bar, and I absolutely live from that, and I believe in that, and I know it's already happened in my consciousness. Okay. Keith is asking another question. What is Neville Goddard's greatest theme in Feeling is the Secret that is the most important key to consider and your biggest takeaway from it? It's the title. Keith, it's the title of the book, Feeling is the Secret. And I would say that it's that. And in addition to that, it would be the dominant, where he talks about the dominant feeling is the one that's expressed. So to impress the subconscious with the desirable state, you must assume that would be the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish, and have that be your dominant thought. There's nothing impossible to man. Whatever the man of mind can conceive and feel as true, the subconscious must objectify. Your feeling created the pattern which your world is fashioned, and a change in feeling is a change of pattern. And that's really what we're talking about when you're doing the work. You're changing the patterns of your previous way of thinking, your previous way of being. That's what I did. I changed the way I was thinking. I changed the way I was feeling, subsequently changed my life. Now, the life didn't get changed first, and then I changed the thinking and the feeling. It was the other way around. And that's one of the things that I love about that particular book. Keith, you're asking great questions today. Wow, CJ Smith. So I was just thinking of you, and then boom, here you are live. You manifested that. Way to go. All right, one more question here. Oh, wait, we got a couple more questions here. When I visualize, my mind slips off all the time. What to do? Get into the habit of putting yourself right back on track. Use this 4-word question. What would I love? What would I love? The moment you find yourself off track, thinking about what you don't want, stop yourself in that moment. Just stop and just say, what would I love? But follow through. Don't only ask yourself the question, what Well, excuse me, what would I love? You want to answer it. What would I love? I'd love for this to occur. All right, what does that feel like now that that has happened? You want to connect energetically to the outcome that you desire. All right, next question is Michelle, Peggy, can you share how I went from a full-time IT job to having the career of her dreams with coaching? Yeah, I had worked in the IT industry for most of my career. I actually graduated from high school, which was a miracle on its own, and I started working on a mini computer. Now that's when mainframes and minis were around. Micros weren't even out at the time. But I loved working on a computer. It was just something that was, it was cool and it was trendy. And then I ended up going to work for a manufacturer of microcomputers, and then I started teaching, and then whatever the latest technology was, I was riding that wave all the way. When internet came out, I was working for the very first internet service provider and loved it. And I love technology. I really do. I love how it evolves. I love how it's constantly changing. Not everybody loves that part about technology, but I happen to love it. But I had another passion, and that passion is for what we're talking about right here, right now, personal and professional development. And it was a bigger passion than IT. And so what I did was I established a business in 1994. I incorporated my own business. And I started to run seminars at my dining room table. This is before the World Wide Web really opened up. And as a result of that, I had a young son at the time. I ended up getting divorced, so I was a single mom. I decided that I would cut the cord of my IT world when I felt that I was ready, when I felt that it was time. And I felt the fear at the time, went for it anyway. I felt the fear, but I knew enough to only focus on the outcomes that I desired. And that is seeing the success of the business. So that was almost 30 years ago, 28 years ago that I incorporated the business. But I actually did it in a way where I started my business part-time, and then after a period of time, I cut the cord of my career and went into the business full-time. Okay, 2 more questions. We're beyond the 30-minute mark, but that's okay. If you guys are all right with this, I'll stay on a little bit longer. We have a question from, I think it's Sheik. It looks like, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name properly, and I apologize if I'm not. I have a question. How can I focus on my goal and save my dreams from a man who loves me but not my dreams? Okay, you're the only one in control of how you feel, all right? And your dreams. Don't let anyone take your dreams away from you. Don't let anyone take them away. The work that is done for a manifestor, someone who's manifesting their desires, quite often is done in secret. There's like this quote. Let me see if I can remember it. We think in secret, it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass, right? Like we think in secret and it comes to pass. You see, the work of the manifestation is going on within your consciousness, right? Your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. You literally are reprogramming yourself. And when you set your goals, which are dreams, you set your goals in your dreams, the way to manifest them is to feel as if they're here now, like to feel really embraced, knowing that they're already done. No one even knows that's going on. Like I'm married to a man who's actually, I can see from reflection, he's out walking the dogs right now. My husband retired 13, almost 14 years ago now. He was young when he retired. He was in his late 40s when he retired. And people have asked me, time and time again when I've spoke at different events, what happens if my husband isn't into this? It's like, my husband's not into this. My husband doesn't set goals. He doesn't read the books that I read. Like we may be sitting in the living room in the evening, and I have, we chat. We have a wonderful marriage, a very happy marriage. But I might be reading a book like this, and he's watching a hockey game or sports of some sort. He's a sportsaholic. But he doesn't have any dreams, and he wouldn't even think of trying to, pour poison on mine. It's not going to work. Why? Because I'm in control of what I think. I'm in control of what I feel, and nobody is going to take my dreams away. Nobody. And it doesn't matter who you are. Now, when we started to date, which was many years ago now, about 17 years ago now, when we first started to date, I was very honest with him. And I said, listen, this is the work that I'm involved in. This is what I do. This is who I am. If that's not something that you can respect, I'm not asking him to be like me. I'm just asking him to respect me. I respect him. Then it won't work, but it works. He respects me. He respects my dreams. And you know what else? He's benefited from it, greatly benefited from it. So he loves it. Like when someone loves you, they want the best for you. They want the best for you. And so what you can also do is see that in them. See that. See the best in them. They'll likely see the best in you, but understand the corner of the universe. There's a quote by Aldous Huxley. It says, there's only one corner of the universe that you have any control over. That's what's going on in your mind. That's your feelings. That's what you have control over. And give thanks for that. No one else is controlling what you're thinking. You're deciding even right now as you're listening to me whether you're taking it in or not, or whether you're going to do anything with it or not. It's your choice. Totally your choice. Okay, and then our final question for today is, do you have a deadline or just have the feeling regardless of the time it happens? All right, this is a question, I suppose, related to goals, right? Do you have a deadline? I don't. Why? Because this is the answer. Feeling is the secret. You got to feel as if your goal is here now, not sometime in the future, not coming, not on its way. It's here now. So when I write out my goals, it's now. I'm so happy and grateful now that it's here now. So no, I don't put a deadline on a goal. Now, there have been times when there's been a date associated to a particular goal. And those dates have been usually with real estate transactions. So I remember I have a number of real estate manifestation stories. And I remember purchasing a home when I went through my divorce many, many years ago. My son was young, and I bought a house, and I didn't have the money to pay for it, but I knew enough of the manifestation process and the laws and how they work, and that I just needed to get in harmony with it. And I went and bought the house. Well, I had to have the money by a certain date in order to move into the home. And then I had to have the money to close the deal. And so there was a date associated there. But how did I manifest? I felt as if it was already done. All right, that's how you manifest. Another time, my husband and I were in Florida. We took my mother there for a bucket list trip. My mom had been diagnosed, this is back in 2008. She'd been diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I asked her what's on her bucket list. And she said she wanted to go back to Florida and see her friends. My parents used to have a house in Florida. And so I said, I'm going to make that happen for you. So one day she's napping and we went for a little walk and there was a house for sale. And I stopped. And my husband's like, what are you doing? And I said, well, the house is for sale. And he said, so? We're not looking for a house. I said, well, it's for sale. Maybe we should buy one. Or maybe I will buy one. And as it turned out, I bought that house. I didn't have the money to buy it, but I chose a closing date of 2 months later, 60 days. I gave myself 60 days. And so there's a date that was associated. I had to come up with the money in 60 days. But here's what I know to be true. When you do something like that, the moment you take your pen, or the moment you make a decision, you take your pen and you sign it on a legally binding contract, in that moment, you must feel as if it's already yours. It's mine. It's done. And not get caught up in the, holy crap, what am I going to do? I don't have the money. Like, you don't want to go there. Now, if you do go there, which happens, you want to put yourself right back on track. Just like I answered the earlier question. What happens when your mind drifts, off to something else? Stop it. Put it right back on track. What would I love? What would I love? What would I love? Now, if you find yourself going off track multiple times a day, just get back into the habit. You want to develop the habit of being in harmony with what you desire. Now, this takes time. It takes conditioning. It doesn't happen overnight. You want to be easy on yourself. You want to be patient with yourself. All right? You want to implement as well. Just like I started earlier when we're talking about be ye doers. Be ye doers means that you're living from the place of assumption. You are assuming, there's a chapter in here on the law of assumption. You are assuming that what you desire is already yours. even when there's no evidence of it in sight. Even when you might have bang, bang, bang creditors banging on the door. You got to ignore, you got to deny the evidence of the senses. I'm not talking about ignoring your responsibilities. You're denying the evidence of the senses because in your consciousness, you're choosing to live from the goal. All right, living from the goal. So we have addressed every question that's come in today. I love that you guys were here with us today. I love serving you, love these materials. We're going to be doing more of this. Let me tell you when we're going to be on next week so you can put it in your calendar now and join us. We are back next Wednesday, the 16th at 12 noon. We're going to be here at 12 noon, okay? I'm just going to write it in my agenda right now. All right. Oh, thank you so much. Love you guys too. I really love being here. I love that you show up. Thank you so much, Roddy. Thank you, Gladys, for being here. If any of you want to find out more about how we can serve you in greater ways, please go to the website, PeggyMcColl.com. There is a place there where you can sign up and get on a call with Vladdy if you want to investigate things a little bit further. And just know that we're here for you because your success is our success. So thank you so much. Thank you, Roddy. Thanks for grabbing all those questions while we've been on the call. And I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. All right, take care, everyone. Happy manifesting.